Sup guys, my name is Justin and I'm joined with Nate.
What's up, everybody?
And today we were going to do a Black Series blunder on the Remnant Stormtrooper, but then we got to thinking, let's make this sort of a different blunder video because it's not so much the figure, it's the photoreal inkjet weathering application that ruins this figure. So today we are going to be complaining and explaining to you why we hate the photoreal weathering application.
So just for some very quick context for those of you that don't know what we mean when we say things like photoreal or inkjet, basically it's a process where the paint apps are digitally printed onto the figure, whereas in the past, things were hand painted. Now, typically this is used for faces and has been a modern marvel in terms of action figure likeness. However, Hasbro, and I'm sure other companies too, but Hasbro mainly started to not only use it for faces, but also to emulate weathering, most likely as a cost-saving measure, because it's probably cheaper to print it on the figure than to have someone hand paint it.
Right, so again, photoreal faces, yes. It's one of the best, if not the best advancement the line has ever seen. Photoreal weathering,
yeah, it's pretty bad, and we have a few examples that we're going to talk about today. Not just the Remnant Stormtrooper, which is a toasted marshmallow nightmare. Doesn't really look very Remnant. It just looks like his armor got a little cooked.
Right. One of the main things that the photoreal weathering does is it makes it look artificial because, yes, it's paint, but not in the traditional sense where you're actually applying paint to the figure.
Right.
Whether that be a person hand painting it or a machine that does it. It just makes it look artificial. And we started looking at other examples. One of our infamous examples is Commander Wolf on that old Clone Trooper body. And to the naked eye, you can actually see the dots that when combined make up the paint application.
Right. I think it's one of those things where it's not horrible on some figures, but then there are some figures where it is just so noticeable, and it almost gives the figure like a blurry kind of like quality to it.
Yeah.
Where the battle damage or whatever the weathering is supposed to be. Like for Wolf, for instance, the chest, it doesn't really look too noticeable, but then you look at the arms and you start to see all these little weird dots.
Yeah.
And it just looks weird. It looks artificial.
Right. And it doesn't help that the rest of the figure is just a stark white, and then out of nowhere you have this poop color just splattered on. And again, it's that look of artificial. That's just the word that comes to my mind when describing the photoreal paint application. Same thing with Snowy Mando. It just looks artificial. It doesn't look like actual paint applications, and it really just takes you out of it because it's so exaggerated instead of naturally blended into the figure. So it just seems super random. I know another example we got just for some more recent examples was Miggs Mayfeld, because it's that olive green and then there's just randomly brown splotches on his armor. I'm like, what is that supposed to be?
I think even the like random weathering at the feet is even more offensive.
Yeah.
Because what is that supposed to be? It's not even dirt. It's like a weird beige color.
And it's like, I know what they're going for. They're going for a more subtle, worn, weathered look. But it's the opposite of subtle, at least in our opinion. I mean...
Yeah, I think a real big criminal is Poop Troop Luke, the Target exclusive with the slicked back hair from a few years ago. This one looks really bad. Like, it is very apparent how fake and digitally printed the weathering looks. And I think what it also does too is it just makes every single figure look exactly the same. Yes. Like you go back and, you know, we always bring up the Sand Trooper, but you look at the Sand Troopers, they're different. Like the paint apps from Sand Trooper to Sand Trooper are different because of the painting process that they used to use, whether it was hand painting or machine painting. Either way, it just gives it a little bit more personality. It gives it a little bit more realism because you're not going to see a bunch of remnant stormtroopers that have identical weathering, which is exactly what you got. If you wanted to army build the remnant stormtrooper, you could, but what you would have is an army of remnant stormtroopers that all have the exact same weathering pattern. And I think that is a big major issue when it comes to these figures like this nowadays versus what they used to do back when the line first began.
Yeah, but even more recent example, we have the Magna Guard here. It's just those scrapes, that silvery grayish look. You can really see the dots on this one.
Yeah, the Magna Guard, you know, not nearly as egregious as some of the other ones, but it is still there, mainly down around like the lower shin area. You can just see those dots. You can see that fuzziness that it creates when you have all of those dots. And they even sort of create like a very minor outline around whatever the actual like bit is printed on to the figure itself. So
it's when the weathering fades out, you can really see those dots because the shape is so apparent. Because if you think about it, like take this trooper for example, if it was a real trooper and you went into the pit and got all dirty, the whole thing would have some level of grime to it. But when it's just, again, a stark white and you're digitally printing it only onto certain areas of the figure, that is what makes it pop out so much and look really unnatural. And it's not just figures of the past. We can look to the future as well. And on this one, you can even tell through the promotional images that it has it, and that is the Super Battle Droid.
True.
That dirt, Geotnosis weathering look, you can totally tell it's digitally printed, and it's only on one little part of the figure, and then the rest is completely devoid of any paint. And that's what just makes it so jarring. It almost looks like a credit collection, like sort of weathering on it.
Right. Yeah, no, I get what you mean.
So obviously we hope a clean one comes out, but even in that those promo shots, you can tell that is a digitally printed weathering application.
Yep. And it's something that I really wish that we could get back to, and they clearly can still do normal paint techniques. We have seen that. Mainly the two examples that come to my mind are the recent Wicket figure. That you could tell was genuinely painted, the white fur. That was not photoreal applied. And Chrysanthemum as well. Again, another figure that was genuinely painted.
Yeah, both of those figures had real paint and had dark washes in certain areas. Yeah. So it's not to say Hasbro doesn't paint their figures. It's not all this digital photoreal weathering. They still do from time to time, actually paint their figures. But we've said this for a long time. We've talked about it on streams. We've brought it up and figured it out. So we just thought we would make it its own video.
Yeah, I definitely think it's something worth talking about. We even, like, this Mando was a deluxe figure, and even on a deluxe figure, they still did the photoreal paint application on him. So it's one of those things where you never know what figure is going to get the photoreal paint application treatment, because they've displayed that it doesn't matter if it's a deluxe figure, if it's a standard figure, if it's an exclusive. So there's no rhyme or reason to predict how it's going to happen, but I think just in general, this video is just us saying it should stop happening.
Yes. Keep up the photoreal faces. They're better than ever.
Right. But stuff like this, or, even something like Balin, you can clearly tell the reason this weathering that is on the armor is so bright and vibrant and blue is because it was just digitally printed onto the figure, and that's all there was to it. There's no finesse.
And it's programmed to hit those specific spots.
Right.
So it's just so artificial. I know I've said that 1,000 times, but it's true. And that is why we hate digital photoreal weathering on modern Black Series figures. Let us know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you guys think we're wrong on this one? Do you guys actually prefer the Poop Troop?
I mean,
digital photoreal does?
There's people out there that prefer the removable helmets, so I'm sure there is at least one person out there that prefers it. So we would love to hear your thoughts. Let us know why you prefer.
However, make sure to hit like. Subscribe if you are new. We are always talking about Star Wars The Black Series here on the channel. We don't always complain, so just stick around, watch a couple other videos. If you are in a position to help support the channel, we do offer a channel membership. There is a link to that in the description. Join the Discord, do all that fancy linked stuff that's in the description. But if you can't, just hit like for us. I'm Justin, joined with Nate.
See you guys later.
And we will see you next time on Out of the Basement.